Hey everyone, my name is Brandon, aka Smart Home Sellout. Today we're going to go over the Apollo M1 LED matrix. So this thing's really neat. It's 4096 pixels, 64 by 64 matrix. We actually have a M1 LED controller on the back, and then we sell it either as just the controller itself, or you can buy the panel or all together. It is powered via USB-C at 5 volt 3 amps. You can also power it via the Wago connectors. The one closest to the edge is the ground, and that is also marked on the PCB itself. We also have a couple of buttons here. So this first one, the one on the very corner here, that one is a boot button. However, it also inside of WLED doubles as a on off, so it just turns it on or off. It mimics the hitting the power button in WLED. And so that is the boot button, but it also turns it on or off. And then you also have the reset button, and that will actually do a full reset, aka a reboot on it. All right, it also comes with this little 3D printed little stand, and that kind of helps it sit at an angle there. Perfect. All right, so I want to go through a couple of optional add-ons here. So first things first, we have the ability to, we call this just the data cable, to pop this in here, and we have a full wiki on, and including YouTube videos on exactly how to, link all these up, right? So I'm not gonna go through that, but I just wanna show you that, this data cable will allow us to chain up to 4 of them in a row. So, we could actually have these chained and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and have long text scrolling across it or something like that, right? We have the optional data cable. We also have the optional power module. So what this does is this allows you to power it. So for example, let's say that we are connecting two of these screens. We only need one controller on the first one, and then we'll use this guy that shows going out, and it will connect here and connect to a second panel, and now that panel will have data, but it will still need power. So what this will do is it'll allow us to, we'll go ahead and take this off real quick. So if you can look on the back here, it's got 4 pins, and you just pop that on, and this will be so just to confirm, you'll still have your controller on your first device here. There we go. And then your second device will use this data cable to jump over, and then this will power it, right? So, and again, on our wiki, we have step-by-step with a 2, a 3, or a 4 setup, and it shows you exactly step-by-step what to do. So make sure to check out our wiki. All right, so let's get that plugged back in here. Now, if you'll notice, we actually have something a little different going on this right one. So the one on the left here is running WLED MM Moon Modules firmware. So this is a fork of WLED with some new features, including the ability to play GIFs as an image effect in WLED. So we also have a wiki article step-by-step on that, so make sure to check it out. However, as you can see in this one, it's not just playing a GIF, it's actually playing a YouTube video. So I'm not going to go all into it. I just want to kind of show you that we do have some options here. This is using a Wiimote, and as you can see, I can click a button and it will jump through different screens. And you can do your brightness up and down, you can on off. Really kind of neat stuff, right? So the WLED MM firmware is what we're shipping with. However, this is ESP Home firmware, and join our Discord server if you want to check this out. Not sure if we're ever going to start shipping with this firmware. It is actually community made by a guy named Pavlov. He's a really great guy, made some really cool additions to his firmware. So this is not something that it ships with. However, if you're just a little bit of a nerd and willing to learn a little bit to get it set up, it's a really neat deal. It lets you play. You can literally just feed it a YouTube video URL, and it will start playing it. So it's a little bit more setup, but once you get it set up, you can do some neat stuff, right? So at the same time though, WLED is quite simple, and honestly it's standalone, right? So this requires Home Assistant OS to install a add-on, and ultimately it's just not necessarily the simplest to get started, right? So we'll likely continue to ship with this firmware, but it's neat to know that you have options, and this Wizmo, it's really neat to be able to control it remotely. It actually doesn't even connect over Wi-Fi. It's talking directly to it because this is an ESP32 based device, and so is that, and it's talking over something called ESP Now, which is like Wi-Fi but no router, so just direct connection. So kind of neat there. So yeah, so let's set this one aside for now, and focus on WLED. So one neat thing is, we have, this is the WLED native iOS app. They have one for Android as well. And let's see here, if we put this, should be able to see them both. There we go. All right, so here, we can do cat dance, and it's already playing that, so that's good. Pikachu. These are presets that I've made, right? So we can also just go back to effects and go to a solid effect or a Kimi, or I can click one of these. Let me see. Whoops. I didn't mean to enter that in. And let's see here, colored bursts, crazy bees. So you can do some fun stuff with it, right? So these are just built-in effects. And then of course, since we're on 14.5.1, we have the image effect right here. And that is how we're able to play our GIFs. And then in this playing GIFs is looping through all of these. So that's kind of neat. All right, so that kind of shows us how the device works once we're, inside of WLED. And as a reminder, we do have full getting started wiki articles on our wiki.apolloautomation.com. So make sure to check that out. All right, so at this point, I kind of want to show you the difference here between these two. So this is our Rev 4. This is our older, this is what we launched with, our older controller. We have since moved to a new design. This also includes an optional microphone. So this one does not have a microphone built in. This one, if you buy the add-on, it will give you the option to pay and add a microphone to the order. You can always add this on later, and again, we have a wiki article on how to do that. This new controller, if you have this microphone, and if you see this kind of black design, that will be the new controller. And it'll also say Rev 6 on the PCB itself to let you know. It doesn't necessarily matter if you have the older or the new, but the new will give you the option for the microphone, so that's kind of nice to have. Let's see here. At this point, we've kind of gone over, what the device is, some of the, the buttons, right? Our boot button on the edge, our reset, USB-C. We can power it by the Wago, so you have ground and then plus there. The optional microphone, the fact that you can use a data cable to extend and go up to 4 of these wide. And, at this point, I think we're pretty much all set. I'd like to kind of take you into Home Assistant now and kind of, just show some other options that we can do now that we have it added to our Wi-Fi and now added to the WLED integration in Home Assistant. All right, see you there.
Hey everyone, Brandon here, aka Smart Home Sellout, and today we're taking another look at the Apollo M1 LED Matrix. So in the first section of the video, we went over, what the device is, went over the physical buttons and USB-C, how you can chain multiple panels together, and at this part of the video, we are going to go over how, to have it added to Home Assistant and kind of what WLED is, how to navigate through the WLED GUI, and then see it in Home Assistant. And then ultimately, we're going to do a beginner, a intermediate, and an advanced automation and blueprint examples, just to kind of make sure that you understand exactly how all you can use your device. All right, so first things first, in Home Assistant, if we go to Settings, Integrations, and WLED, here we are. We will see our new device, Apollo M1. We click Add, Submit. I called mine the Apollo M1 Test Bench, and I put it in my test bench location. Click Finish, and it jumps us right in here. Okay, so first things first, we see this little light entity, right? And that allows us to turn our device on or off. And we'll see later, this is technically a segment 0 inside of WLED. If we end up having more than one segment, it will create new little light entities for us. So we will revisit that later. Let's see here. We have our playlist. We have presets. Let's kind of jump into WLED, and then we will jump back and see this in Home Assistant as well. So if we click Visit, it will open up a new tab here, and it will go directly to our device's IP address in a browser. So you might be familiar with WLED, but this just assumes that you basically are not familiar with WLED or have never used it before. So we're just gonna go over some basics. All right. So first things first is our power button here. That just turns it on or off. That also is identical to clicking the power button on the back of the device, the little boot button that we went over in the first section. That is technically toggling this little button here. All right, so we can obviously change our brightness here, go up or down on brightness. We can change our like this is our color, right? But then you actually have like the color temperature as well, how much like white is in it, if you will. So you can click blue, all these colors, and this will change. Like say if this is a solid color, this is going to change our matrix, right? It's currently changing those colors. All right, so then we also have effects, right? So solid is just a solid color. Akemi is like the little mascot of WLED. Android. There's one called Fireworks that is kind of cool. Let me search Fireworks. This is kind of fun. Fireworks 1D is kind of cool. There's lots of neat ones. I really like the black hole. Oops, black hole. This one's neat. And then you have these little sliders here, and each one of these, each effect will have different sliders, different amount of sliders, and change what they do. Like for example, this says inner X frequency. Well, if we change that, you can see that the you know, the inner X value of this is changing, and we move it back, and now it's no longer doing that. Inner Y frequency, it'll do the same thing. It starts moving them in different directions. So, and then outer Y frequency changes something, and fade rate. I mean, each one's different, right? So, this would be something you would really want to look up on, whoops, WLED this guy. So, under features, you could look at effects and it'll explain what each one does and all that, right? So, all right, so jumping back here, so we went over, we got our effects here. Okay, so then you have segments. Segments are I guess could be considered an advanced topic. What a segment is basically doing is it's choosing the start and stop X and Y values, which ultimately, like, it basically allows you to split up this. Imagine this is one giant LED strip, right? It basically allows you to split up one LED strip into multiple little, like, segments, if you will, or virtual strips. So once we'll see in an advanced case later where we can, have multiple segments and we'll actually have a light here. A light here, well, there will be more than just one, right? So segments are, we're not really going to do much with them at this moment, but it allows us to kind of break this up into multiple like multiple segments, right, that we can control individually. All right, and then we have something called presets. So these presets here are I've already made these. They won't come default with yours. The presets can just be an effect. So for example, if we really like I don't know, this candle effect, for example. If we really like candle, well then we select candle here. We can also choose. There's also let's jump back here. There's a color palette. So each one of these will have a default. Will just default to this default color palette. And you can see like the colors here, for example, right? But if we change to color 1, now it lets us choose what color that is, right? And then we go back to default. You can see how that should change. And then same with an analogous, April Night, Atlantica. I mean, there's really some neat ones. You can also do like colors 1 and 2, and then you can choose your own colors. So you can really do some neat stuff. So once you choose that and you create kind of your effect with your chosen color, now we can add a preset. So now we leave this as is, and we go to add preset, and then we can give it a name. Blurs plus. I'm just gonna leave that like so, and then all these will be default, and then save. So now if we go say to black hole or we go to solid or something, and then we want to go back to that blurs that we set up, we can just click that and it will jump right back to it, right? So WLED, when you turn the device off and back on, or when you kill it power and give it power again, it needs a preset for something to be saved to, or it just won't remember that, right? So you also, if you have multiple segments, and again, this is kind of a advanced use case, multiple segments will not be restored on power loss. The segments need to be saved into a preset, and then it'll recall them and remember all the little the changes that you made. All right, so one other thing that I would like to show is there's something called the image effect. So this is only here if you're on 14.5.1. If you are on 14.5, then that is not available. So make sure that you're on 14.5.1. If you need to, you can always go to our wiki. This is just wiki.apolloautomation.com. We can go to troubleshooting. Let's see here, and factory reflash. And whenever it goes to our installer, we have 14.5 and 14.5.1. So you can flash that newer version if you're still on 14.5. Let's see here. I want to make sure that we go over this image. So this image is really kind of neat. What this allows us to do is upload an image, and it's called image, but technically it's a GIF. It only allows you to upload GIFs. So make sure that whenever you go through our little guide here, let's see, we have examples and add GIFs to WLED. So I go over, it needs 14.5.1 or higher, and it basically, what we're doing here is we're resizing and making sure that we have a 64 by 64 file, so that it will display properly in the in WLED. And this goes all over it here, but I'll just show you real quick. So all we're doing is we're going to config, we're going to file system, and then we literally browse and we upload our GIF file here. We browse for it, we click upload, and then we're done, right? And then you just click back. So once that image is here, now what we can do, we can click image, and then you can see that this segment is called catdance.gif. Yours will likely say like segment 0 to start with. So what we did is, or what I did is I came in and I called it catdance.gif, which is identical to the file I uploaded. And 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 then once I change that and you click the little check mark, it now will show your GIF, which is pretty neat. And then you can go a step further, and what you can do is you can take multiple GIFs and turn it into a playlist. So if you click plus playlist here, and we can just call this playlist test. So it lets us choose from our list of presets here, and then you choose how long they stay on for, and then transition how quickly it goes from one to the next one. So it lasts for 3 seconds, and then it takes almost 1 second to transition. I'm just gonna put that at 0, shuffle and repeat indefinitely, and then you can keep clicking plus, and you can add on more. Oh, I want to add the Pikachu. Oh, I want to add a Kimmy. And then when you click save, you will now have a playlist. When you click on this playlist, it will now, which this playlist is technically still in your preset list, it will just continuously play a list of or whatever you chose on your settings. So that's pretty neat. So now that we've gone over all that, I'd like to kind of do a beginner automation. So, well, first I want to show you in Home Assistant and make sure that it's clear here. So in WLED, we went over all of our different options here, right? So we can see in our playlist is playing GIFs, right? Or our preset, we can change to Akimi, or we can change to blurs, and I can go back and I can start my playlist again, right? So I'll go to black hole here. This again turns our light on or off. That's just toggling that. We have our color palette, so we can choose from a list of color palette, and as you can see, once we choose one of these, that's all our color palettes, right? We have intensity and speed, which are the little sliders, and then sorry, these little sliders right here. And then, you have night light and a few other settings here. Reboot the device, whether or not you want to reverse them. This is for your sync and receive for WLED. So most of these you really won't necessarily be dealing with. For the most part, we're going to be using this the presets and turning the device on or off via the light itself, right? So okay, so now let's actually set up an automation. So we just click the plus here. I'm going to do create new automation. And one thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to go into my settings and I'm going to copy this just so I remember that it's Apollo M1 test bench. That's the light that I want to work with, right? So let's create an automation. We'll go new automation. And for trigger here, this could be, oh gosh, it could be turn it on at 8 a.m. and off at 5 p.m. for example, right? So for example, we could do search time at a specific time at 8 a.m. Then that's when we're going to turn it on. We're actually going to create a second trigger time, specific time. We're going to call it 10 p.m. Okay, and then what we're going to do, we're going to give each of these a trigger ID. So I'm going to call this nighttime trigger, and or like night, and then we'll do a morning trigger for the other one. So ID and then morning. All right, and this is a little bit of an advanced use case, but it's going to show you how to do something neat inside of Home Assistant. So what we're doing here is we're now going to do a choose action. And what this allows us to do is take multiple triggers and we can kind of make like two automations in one, right? So instead of having an automation that turns it on at 8 a.m. and another one that turns it off at 10 p.m., we're going to do these both here. So I'm going to I want two different options. So option one is going to use this condition that we just had here, right? So we're going to do triggered by what? Morning. And then option two needs a condition triggered by what? Night. So now it's saying, hey, option one will only fire or run the automation if it's triggered by morning. That way, like it doesn't matter that this is here because it's only triggering on morning. Same thing with this, it's only triggering on night. All right, so now that we have that, we can actually choose what the action, what we want to trigger, right? So we're gonna do light, right? Oops, light, and we're gonna do light dot turn on, and when we go to add target, I'm going to choose my M1 test bench. So this guy right here. And transition, that's how many seconds you want for it to do that. We're just going to have it turn on, and then we're going to add, and then that's for option one, right? Now option two, if it's triggered by night, we want to turn it off. So now we're going to do light, turn off, add target, and we're going to search for our entity, and we're just doing that M1 test bench, this guy. And we're just turning it off. We don't need a transition or anything, so that's it. So now we can click save. We can call it M1 on in morning, off in night automation. All right, so we click save, and now our device will turn itself on and then turn itself off based on the time of day. 8 a.m. it turns itself on, 10 p.m. it turns itself off. You could easily add this to another script or something like that. This is just an example automation. All right, so now we will delete that automation. Let's just jump back here. Oh, it doesn't like that. Here we go. Okay, so go back to our test bench device. So one really neat thing you can do is you can if you have some smart button, for example, you can trigger to run a certain preset, right? So what we're going to do now is we already have all these presets. What we're going to do now is instead of creating an automation, we actually have a blueprint for another device we've created. This is called our Apollo button one, and of course on our wiki, if you go to our button one, where is it? Button one, examples, blueprint. We have step-by-step examples on how to import this blueprint and add it to your Home Assistant. So I've already added it. I have to select my button one from the drop-down. I've done that. And what this is going to allow us to do is just really easily automate on button presses of the device. So for me, when I do a single click, and as a reminder here, let me open up another Home Assistant instance here. So as a reminder here, we have WLED, this guy, our test bench. So this preset, as you can see, it's a select, right? It's that's just what it's technically called. It's a select inside of Home Assistant. So whenever we want to automate and try and choose one of these, we are going to do that based on choosing select. So if we just type in select and then it says selects an option, right? So target, we're going to use our same Apollo M1 test bench, and then we are looking for preset. So as a reminder here, we have, playlist and preset, color default. There's multiple select options in here. So we've chosen preset, and now we get to choose which preset, right? So let's do button 1 will turn on black hole, and I could do, a double, a triple click, or a hold. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to copy this, and then whenever we go to button 2, I just want to paste. And then let's go to button 3 and then add action, paste. And then button 4, add action, paste. All right, so now we have black hole for each one of these, right? So button 1 is black hole, we'll leave that. Button 2, let's have that do a Kimmy. Button 3, I want to do Pikachu, and 4 will be fireworks. All right, now click save, and I'm just going to leave it Apollo Automation button 1 blueprint as our default. Great. All right. So now I want to show you here. Let's jump to camera. So check this out. What we have just done is made it to where we can click a button on our button 1 and easily jump between all the different presets that we just made. That'll take a second, but that's Pikachu bouncing and jumping. Isn't that cool? There's our fireworks. And our cat dance is our first one, I think. Oh, I didn't do the cat dance. All right, so black hole. Awesome. All right, so that's a really neat way to jump back here. That's a really neat way to automate and use our button 1 and a blueprint to control your device. And obviously this could, trigger and change a logo. It could show your guest Wi-Fi. It could do some neat stuff. All right. So next we're actually going to look at a different one of my M1 devices here. So let's go back. We'll go to integrations. Whoa, that's weird. Little GUI bug there. And we're going to go to this first one. So as you can see here, I now have multiple of these segments. And instead of this device, we are going to visit and go to this new device here. Okay, so as you can see, our WLED is looking a little bit different now. We see multiple segments here. We have presets of multiple segments. And, it's just looking a little bit more advanced, but that's okay. We will break this down and go through it. So first, I need to kind of explain that there's a little bit of not backstory per se, but you're going to need to let's go back to our wiki and let's see here, M1, and let's go to our examples and let's do multiple panels, right? Okay, so in this example, I'm actually using 2 panels stacked, or not stacked, but horizontally, connected, right? They call it in a chain, and we have, a wiki article showing exactly how to do this. Where you're gonna have to connect the data cable, where you're connecting power. It shows whether you have to do 2, 3, or 4 panels. I also have the software set up, so in here, you have to change the chain length and then we change the panel dimension so it knows it's no longer just 64 by 64. So there's a couple extra settings in here. Please make sure to read all of these. I spent a lot of time really making sure that this was easy as possible to duplicate. And so what it's doing here is it's and again you have to choose 2, 3, or 4 panel, and that will change. I mean, I made GIFs for each one of these. It was a lot of work. But at the end here you can see that we have one long set of or excuse me, 64 by 128, right, or 128 by 64. So okay, so now that we've done that, and again, it's expected for you to go through and do all this, right? We also have segments, right? So the segments are in here, and what this is basically doing is these are called, technically this used to be called, segment 0, and this used to be called segment 1, and etc. And you can see in Home Assistant it still calls them segment 0, segment 1. So like for example, if I toggle that off, that just turned the power off on segment 1, and you can see the power is off on segment 1. That just toggled it back on and back on, right? So this is our overall power on and off, and then this can turn just one segment on or off, and that's literally turning just that little section. Imagine it being like a totally separate device, right? So pretty neat. And at one point I had a fourth or a fifth segment, so that's why that's grayed out. It no longer exists. So, in mine, I'm turning it on and off based on my sleep and wake routine, which is neat. So, what's neat about this is it allows you to take, this device and allow it to share Home Assistant data directly to it, right? So once you have all this set up, you follow this guide. Where's our example? Share data from Home Assistant. And again, I'm not going through all of this. There's quite a lot of moving parts here. I even made this little YAML generator with ChatGPT's help. It's not perfect, but it for the most part will give you a working Jinja at the end of this, and I'll explain and show you what it's doing. But basically, I just want to get across that what we're doing here is we're taking data from Home Assistant, whether it's a state of an entity or an attribute, and then we are writing it or we're sending it to WLED and changing the segment name, which is directly changing. So I can just call this segment 0 again, right? It's actually going to get updated every minute in Home Assistant, but it now says segment 0 instead of my my weather, right? And so what's neat is we're able to kind of work around this limitation of WLED not allowing us to change these names by changing them using the JSON HTTP API. So basically, it's this is kind of advanced. I mean, I'll show you here what we're doing, but again, I don't expect you to understand every moving part. What this is basically doing here is it's and again the the YAML generator does 99% of this for you. So you don't need to know all this, but what this is doing here is it's pointing to the device, and then it's saying, hey, use the state attribute of this weather, give me and this temperature, and I mean, you can literally, like, you can kind of read what it's doing. It's adding an F here so that it shows 63 degrees Fahrenheit. It you know it's doing a little bit of math here so that it doesn't add like decimals and stuff, but here it's just saying the state of the door. If it's locked, call it locked. If it's not, call it say front door locked. If not, say front door unlocked. So it's not necessarily rocket science, right? But at the same time, we're not expecting you to know how to do this. I'm just saying, if you follow all our wiki guide, you should be able to spit out that same YAML. So okay, great. So this is certainly not the simplest. This is our advanced use case. We don't expect everyone to be able to do this, but if you're willing, you can do some really neat stuff with it, because you can split this into multiple segments, and then have a really neat programmable, if you will, display. All right, everyone. So at this point, I feel like we've gone over a lot of great info. I do understand that ultimately this last part is a pretty advanced use case. So we just don't expect everyone to do that. But ultimately you can still go to, let's see, WLED. You can still do almost anything that you want, just with coming in here and clicking a few presets, or making a simple automation, or playing around with our button one blueprint. I mean, you can really do some cool stuff, right? So definitely let us know what you think. This is our first intro video for the device, so if there's something you think we missed, or something that would make a great video on, please let us know, and we'll circle back and try to create that for you. So all right, well, thanks again for everyone who watched, and I appreciate it. Y'all have a great weekend.